We're going to discuss about communication. So what we're going to focus on effective communication and how communication can impact the employee's overall performance, whether it's good or whether it's bad. So what I use McGraw-Hill book. You can have the online access on Bolton University website. Remember, university asks you to read 3 books. I choose one. Okay, so in this you have plenty of information. What I choose, this is chapter number 13. Previously, what we've been covering like almost each week we cover 1 or 2 chapters. Okay, so this is chapter 13. So what we're going to do today we're going to talk about, so our learning objective will be what is communication and how effective communication can help organizations comparative advantage. Okay, then we're going to talk about technologies. If you see in today's time, technology play a very important role, okay, in communication. Think about, we are working in whichever organization we are working, we communicate through technology like email, okay, we communicate through different channels like even WhatsApp groups in different colleges and universities. The class have the WhatsApp groups as well. Apart from it, we will going to talk about importance of communication skills within, like, in the managers. What are the skills the managers, today's managers, they needed? So we're going to focus on that as well. So firstly, we will talk about what is communication. So anyone, what is communication? Anyone, what is communication? Come on.
The act of sharing information with another person.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Sharing information between people.
Okay, guys, anyone else? Communication? Okay, you focus on me. Okay, communication is when you're passing on the knowledge and information to another person, and another person receive it. If you see the dictionary has a very basic definition. What is the definition on dictionary? On the dictionary it says the communication happens between 2 people. Okay? So communication, you pass on the message between one person to another person. But for example, I have Alyssa at home. You know the Amazon home,
Yeah.
right? Alyssa, can you play this music? So in today's time, we can communicate with the machines as well. Like Siri, I've got Bixby on my phone, right? I can literally, when I was driving around, I'm doing anything, I just like call Bixby, can you play this music? Or can you call this person, etc. So we communicating, and the other, whether it's a person or whether it's a technology, is be listening to us. So communication is sharing information between what? Between 2 or more individual or group, right? To communicate your message. So we make sure the message received and understood. Okay? This is communication. What do you guys think? What is effective communication? We touched this before as well. What is effective communication? How do you think the communication you're doing is effective? Come on.
It is understood.
It is understood.
Yes.
What do you mean it is understood?
Communication is effective when it is understood by the receptor.
By the receptor, good. Okay, that's the old one. All saying. Very good. Effective communication is when you communicate with the person. So for example, I'm a sender, right? I send you a message through some medium. What is medium at the moment? Face to face. Okay? So when I'm doing face to face communication with you guys, verbal, so there is, I'm a sender. My method, the channel of communication is face to face. And how I make sure the receiver receive it. So when the receiver receive it, it means you guys getting back to me, you guys reply. Okay? And then in the end, if you see, we use case studies, other examples in which we discuss about. So I can find out further whether you receive this lecture or not. So the effective communication is when a receptor start receiving it and understand the message. Importance of good communication. There is always an importance of good communication. Okay? If you remember last time I've given you example, Quinn meant to visit in South England. There was one factory, I think there was BMW factory. So when she visited that factory, so she meant to visit that factory. Only top tier of manager, they knew that Quinn is coming. Quinn is head of the state. Okay? But the lower tier, the people, they had no idea that Quinn is coming today. So what they have done, the top level managers, what they have done, they come up with some different ideas, they are putting banners, posters, and they have showed some kind of gesture to welcoming Queen. But low level of people, low level of employees, they had no idea. When Queen came, everything gone, it creates a demotivation within the employees. Because of what? Because of poor communication. Okay? So importance of good communication is increased efficiency, just like giving you example. Take another example, Barclays. What Barclays done, if you remember 5-6 years back, or 7-8 years back, when we go to Barclays branch, we have cashiers, right? One cashier, cashier number 1 please, cashier number 2 please. I literally remember it because I've banked with Barclays, right? Cashier number 1 please, cashier number 2, etc. Now when we go to Barclays, there's no one say cashier number 1 or 2 because it's all machine. You go to machine and you just literally deposit the cash, deposit the check. Okay, you're doing through machine. Barclays what had this issue about communication. What they realized that their employees, they're very bad, they were not that great in communication. Okay, and as we are discussing, communication is important. So what Barclays did a whole program to train the trainer. That's the name of the program. So what they did, they trained their employees, okay, to how to well effectively communicate. So the customers, so when the customer come in, they can train them, sir, you don't need to queue with the cashier, come, I'll show you how to use the machine. And then the Barclays employees, they're telling their customer how to use the machine. And then if you see slowly, there was a big issue, that there was a big myth before, that we don't want to use the technology. Might be some of, even me as well, when I go to TFL, okay, I don't like topping up with the machine, etc. Sometimes I need someone to just tell them. So I'll make sure what I'm doing 100% is right. But if you see slowly, take an example in Barclays, they train the employees so well, and then further employees, the trainer, train the trainer. So trainer is now training the customers. And I think is doing very well. So importance of good communication, you guys understand this, right? That this is a very important, is increased efficiency within a workplace, is further, you pass on the improve quality of product and services. So what we took the example from Barclays, improve the productivity, right? Improve the cost as well. Think about it, you don't need 10 cashiers now, it's all machine. Machine don't charge you per hour or annual salary. Once it's fixed, it's fixed. Okay? Another example of good communication, HSBC. HSBC Intercom. Any organization you work for, most of the organizations, they have now intercoms. Anyone knows what does intercom mean?
It's like the one by the door.
One by the door. Anyone else? Intercom, okay. Intercommunication. We usually call it intercom department. Intercoms in each organization, they have internal communication department. So internal communication department, they make sure that they communicate with their employee more proficient way. The employee will understand that what is happening. It creates motivation. This is what we're discussing. So HSBC, their intercom department, what they did, they come up with some plan. What was the plan? That they're saying every week 7 to 18 employees, they can direct speak to the directors. Okay, anonymously, like they don't know who are the employee, director doesn't know who are the employees, but employee can contact to the director, okay, and tell him, okay, different employee, different issues, right? We working in organization, we know in some organization there's something is there, okay? You can always, if you are an employee, you can definitely find some problem in the organization. So think about it, how many times we have a chance to speak to the directors. But through this, the HSBC plan, every week the employee can directly contact to the directors and tell them the problems. Okay? And so forth and so on. If we see, there was another, like Microsoft, I was discussing earlier. Microsoft was in Japan recently. What they have done 4 days a week. Their working week, they have done 2 months for 4 days a week. Okay, so employee only need to work 4 days a week. Think about you will get the same salary, okay, but you have to work 4 days. You will have 3 days off. How do you find it?
Rewarding.
Right?
Attractive.
Motivation, productivity. What they found out, Microsoft in Japan, the productivity of employee increased to 40%, 40. Okay, the 40% productivity increase because of that. So how they find out that this is what employees want? Through the communication, right? And if you see, like, even this is one of the important aspects of employee relation, you need to communicate, right? So when you communicate, people will understand. So more innovation through communication. More innovation comes through communication. You identify people need through communication, right? And then you see how, so for example, previously, if you see today we are a global citizen, right? All of us are a global citizen. Okay? Think about it, all of us we are talking about in Japan, what's happened in Japan, Microsoft, American company in Japan, etc. Different examples. So in today's time, the communication is important and it creates innovation. Then we have two major communication, verbal and non-verbal communication. So we need to focus more onto information richness, right? Remember last time we talked about verbal, we talked about gesture, we talked about non-verbal communication. Okay? Verbal communication, face-to-face communication, we do. Okay? Non-verbal communication, written communication. Okay? Like a gesture, I'm using my hand, I'm using my body language, I'm using my eye contact. Okay? So I'm doing this. Now we need to identify which information is which method of communication is information richness. They can provide more information. Okay? What do you guys think about text messages? Do you think if you do something, some massive information, you need to pass on to the person? So you can use text messages.
No, not massive.
What medium should we carry, okay, to when we need to communicate with our employees, with the people, to communicate with them in richness? So according to the researcher, they were saying there are 4 important methods to pass on the information. That's we call information richness. Okay? So what it is, if you see in this, we have high information richness. So it means the information reached out to the audience, to the receiver, highly, that is face-to-face communication. Take an example now, I'm giving face-to-face communication with you guys. I can just send you an email as well, right? There's a couple of journals and articles I have. And I say, okay, this is about communication, this is what I'm expecting from you, make sure you get it done, okay? But you might do not understand the whole idea behind it, why I'm doing it, right? So I have to come face-to-face and explain you. And further, face-to-face communication can give us another advantage that you can ask me question as well, okay? If you have any question, straight away you can ask the question. So according to the researcher, they say face-to-face communication is the method of high information richness, okay? Do you guys agree with this?
Yes.
Anyway, all agree with this, okay. Make my life easy. Okay, the second is in the medium spoken communication electronically transmitted. Second way, according to researcher, they say when you pass on the information, you can pass off the best possible way is telecommunication. Okay, like over the phone, Skype, GoToMeeting. There are so many, Microsoft Meetings, etc. There's so many softwares available in which you can communicate with your audience directly. Easiest medium, over the phone. Okay, over the phone you can transmit the information as well. You can get straight away feedback, right? Questions, scenarios, any problem, anything that audience does not understand, they can straight away ask you, straight away tell you. So this is the second medium for information richness. The third one is personally addressed written communication. Okay, personally, when you personally addressed to a person, think about it. One of the employee of your organization send you an email, you receive an email, you did not open it because you think, oh, as an employee, I usually get 10-20 emails. But in that email, he mentioned the director asked you to do something very important. But actually the email comes from the employee, one of the employee. I do check all the emails, right? But this is one of the scenario that you have received the email from the employee, the director want me to say, and this is very important, you need to get it done. Right, but I ignored it for some reason. I think it's not important. I will do it later on when I finish my class and so forth and so on. Okay, because it was not personally addressed from the director. If the email comes directly from the director that this is important, I might look around and then straight away get back to him because I will know that this is something important. Okay, so personally addressed written communication is the next best information richness criteria according to the researcher. You guys understand this? Right? Finally, impersonal written communication. Impersonal written communication usually come memos, flyers, right? So for example, the example I was giving you earlier about the Queen visit. Queen visit what, let's say this year, right? They published the flyer last year or early this year. The Queen will be visiting to our organization this year. But in the end of flyer, so it was written here, right? Too much information here, there. In the small letters, Queen will be visiting on 5th of November.
Queen will be disappointed.
Disappointed. Impersonal written communication. This is what usually the method of impersonal written communication. So overall, if you see what we understand today, we understand the communication, we discussed this, effective communication, and then when we need to use the communication, which media, which method we use to enrich the communication and pass on the information. Okay, any question? Yeah? Alright, we're done.